Today on Public Eye News, police in the Bahamas released the husband of a Michigan woman who disappeared, and later a Detroit man pleads guilty in a $1.9 million unemployment insurance and pandemic fraud scheme.
Annie Jordan will have your weather forecast for the next couple days. Later, Elijah Anger will bring you today's sports breakdown. I'm Ashlyn Shadig.
And I'm Summer Starrett. This is Public Eye News. Michigan man Brian Hooker has been released from Bahamas police custody following a boating incident involving the disappearance of his wife, Lynette Hooker. The couple were experienced sailors traveling the Bahamas in an 8-foot motorboat when the incident took place. Lynette Hooker reportedly fell off the motorboat and into the water and is still missing. Brian Hooker reported it to the police once reached shore the following morning. He told authorities when Lynette fell overboard, she had the keys on her, which caused the engine to power off, requiring him to paddle to shore. The couple has a history of assault accusations via a Michigan State Police report. The authorities in the Bahamas have opened an investigation into Lynette's disappearance, and the U.S. Coast Guard has also opened a separate case. Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency Friday as high snowfall and heavy rain has elevated water levels at the Sheboygan Lock and Dam complex. Monday, crews were hard at work to restore power to a hydraulic station in northern Michigan as heavy rain continues to rise the risk of dams overflowing and rivers flooding. Officials across the state of Michigan are concerned at the rising risk of flooding as heavy rain is expected to continue throughout the rest of the week. Work is being done to the Sheboygan Dam to add more pumps in hopes of pushing rainwater towards Lake Huron. Sheboygan authorities have warned residents to prepare a go bag in case of emergency, especially for those who live between the dam and the lake. A flood watch is now in effect for most of northern Michigan.
Artemis II returned from circling the moon last week, but did you know Michigan was a part of the mission? Around 78 Michigan-based entities were along for the journey. Moeller Aerospace in Harbor Springs provided blades and nozzles for the rocket. Solar particle forecasts were used from the University of Michigan. Element Technologies tooled equipment, Director of Strategic Initiatives at Michigan's Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation, Mark Ingash, wants to create a space sector in the state to grow business. The Michigan Economic Development Corp is looking for proposals to create the state's first space innovation hub. And as tariffs rise due to the war with Iran, Midwest soybean farmers are feeling the effect. The cost of fertilizer, equipment, and fuel continue to rise. As tariffs rise and raise the price of farming equipment, soybeans themselves continue to stay at a low return on investment, proving to be a problem for the industry even with the rising demands of soybeans themselves. Farm bankruptcies continue to climb and prices of land skyrocket. A survey of 400 farmers concluded that almost half said their farm is financially worse off than it was a year ago. And President Trump is doubling down on his feud with Pope Leo XIV. In a phone interview with CBS News' Norah O'Donnell, he said the Pope is wrong on the issues. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
President Trump isn't backing down from his criticism of Pope Leo, telling CBS News the pontiff shouldn't be getting into politics.
Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran.
The president lashed out against the Pope on social media Sunday after acknowledging he watched CBS News' 60 Minutes, which highlighted Pope Leo's disapproval of his immigration policy and the war in Iran.
I think he's very weak on crime and other things.
The first American Pope says he was delivering a message of peace.
The things that I say are certainly not meant as attacks on anyone. And the message of the gospel is very clear. Blessed are the peacemakers.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who led peace talks with Iran over the weekend and is Catholic, tried to downplay the disagreement with the Vatican.
We can respect the Pope. We certainly have a good relationship with the Vatican, but we're also going to disagree on substantive questions from time to time. I think that's a totally reasonable thing. It isn't particularly newsworthy.
While popes have criticized presidential policy before, Vatican watchers describe this feud as unprecedented. It comes as President Trump is also trying to defend himself against an AI image posted on social media. The image on the president's Truth Social account appeared to show him as a Christ-like figure.
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one.
But it was conservatives on the religious right who blasted the president's judgment, some calling it outrageous blasphemy. The president says he took it down because he didn't want anybody to be confused. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Now don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with your weather and statewide news after this short break.
In this episode, actor Kate Burton and media mogul Barry Diller uncover their roots.
Oh my God, I'm amazed.
Please turn the page.
No. It's just strange. This late in my life, I've learned something so central.
Have you ever heard anything about that?
No.
I've known nothing.
Oh my God.
Does learning all this change the way you see yourself?
Yes. I can't believe it.
Welcome back. I'm Andy Jordan, here to take you through your Public Eye weather report. Starting off with our campus roof cam, we have some clouds in the skies with a little bit of blue sky peeking through actually, and our snow has been melting pretty rapidly here, which has led to a flood watch, which is active across the majority of the UP, as well as the upper lower peninsula. And looking across the map here, as you can see, those cloudy conditions are across the majority of the UP here. Starting in Houghton, it is 49 degrees, in Ironwood, 54 degrees, in Iron Mountain, 58 degrees, and in Menominee, 48 degrees. Now shifting our gaze to the east side of the map here. In Escanaba, it is 48 degrees, in Manistique, 47 degrees, in Sault Ste. Marie, 54 degrees, and back here in Marquette, 47 degrees and cloudy. And taking a closer look at our current conditions here, we have light winds coming from the northeast at 5 miles per hour, and our barometric pressure is 29.75 inches and steady. Now looking to tonight, more cloudy skies, a low of 42 degrees, winds coming from the south-southwest at 4 miles per hour, and our moon phase is a waning crescent. And now looking to tomorrow, those cloudy skies continue, a high of 44 degrees and a low of 38 degrees, and our winds are still calm coming from the north-northeast at 4 miles per hour. And taking a look through the rest of the week and into the start of the weekend, cloudy skies Thursday and Friday with a little bit of rain coming in on Saturday. On Thursday, a high of 47 and a low of 37 degrees. On Friday, temperatures go up a little bit, a high of 60 degrees and a low of 38, and on Saturday, a high of 52 degrees and a low of 29. That's all I have for your weather. Now back to the news desk.
Thanks, Andy. I'm glad to see the weather is starting to finally warm up, but I hope everyone's staying safe with the flood warnings. Now for some statewide news. Michigan reached a new high of high school graduates last spring. However, only about 27% of those students left high school feeling prepared for the transition into college education. And among other states in the country, Michigan is ranked only 30th for college readiness. Education groups point out this misleading and contradictory data and propose an overhaul to the Michigan high school systems as it currently stands. These reformers highlight that the current curriculum standards were set decades ago and are not in line with current needs and progressing the futures of today's students. They believe students need more exposure to skill building and career options rather than just sitting through classes. These advocates are fighting to give students more access to opportunities. And Detroit man Tahid Salik Wilder pled guilty to a $1.9 million unemployment insurance and pandemic fraud scheme today. Wilder filed hundreds of false unemployment claims to receive unemployment benefits, according to court records. Wilder filed these claims across multiple states, including Michigan and California, and also used other residents' information to file false claims. In his total scheme totaled up to nearly $2 million in total losses. Wilder will be sentenced and charged formally on July 30th, 2026, where he will face the maximum sentence for wire fraud, up to 20 years in prison. And Lululemon faces a new investigation based on claims its yoga pants and other products may contain toxic chemicals. The Texas Attorney General says the probe will look at whether the company uses potentially dangerous forever chemicals in its clothing. As CBS's Kelly O'Grady reports, Lululemon says it stopped using those substances years ago.
They're a pioneer in activewear with a focus on wellness. But now Lululemon is at the center of a state investigation into the use of so-called forever chemicals. In a statement released Monday, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said his office is reviewing whether the company misled customers about the health impacts of its products, saying, quote, emerging research and consumer concerns has raised questions about the potential presence of PFAS in their clothing. PFAS have historically been used in a wide variety of textiles to make them water and stain resistant. But like their nickname suggests, forever chemicals can linger in the environment for hundreds or even thousands of years. And studies have linked them with possible adverse health effects in humans, including increased risk of certain kinds of cancers. In a statement, Lululemon said it had previously used PFAS in its durable water repellent products, but the company says it phased out use of the chemicals 3 years ago. That's part of a wider trend among big clothing brands, says Arlene Bloom, a research scientist at Berkeley who studies PFAS.
They're chemicals you don't want to use on anything unless you absolutely need them. But that doesn't mean you wear PFAS clothing and you get sick. It means that you get some exposure, which adds to all kinds of other exposures you get from, air pollution and food that might be problematic. So we're all exposed to some toxic chemicals, and we want to minimize that across the population.
Now, Bloom says a major reason clothing brands began abandoning PFAS was because of 2 state laws that went into effect in California and New York last year, banning the sale of clothing containing forever chemicals. Kelly O'Grady, CBS News, New York.
We'll be right back with your sports report after this short break. Stay tuned.
How was this English era in Sunndal?
A lot of Britons came here in the 1850s. Many of them established new homes, and it's quite an interesting culture we have here.
I always say whenever corner you turn in Norway, you discover something new. And so I'm excited to discover some exciting new things here.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to Sunndal.
Tuesday at 4:30, 3:30 Central.
And welcome back to Public Eye News. My name's Elijah Anger, and I'm here to bring you today's sports breakdown. It's a devastating day for Red Wings fans as their playoff hopes have been struck to an end by the Tampa Bay Lightning yesterday in a 4-3 loss in overtime. The game started off so well for the Motor team as they appeared to take a 2-0 lead at 4:30 in the first period, only to have it overturned due to goaltender interference. The Lightnings profited from this fact as Connor Geekie scored his first goal of the season to tie it up. From there, it was sparks flying for the team out of Tampa, putting the Wings in a 2-goal deficit going into the third. The Wings were able to recover, but to no avail, as Nikita Kucherov ensured the victory for the Lightnings. Moving over to our neighboring state, where some shaking up is occurring. Chris McIntosh, who has resided as the athletic director at Wisconsin since 2021, announced that he will be stepping down as Wisconsin's athletic director to become the Big Ten Conference's Deputy Commissioner of Strategy. McIntosh shared through a letter with the university's community that he was not looking to leave, but the new position with the Big Ten will allow him to call upon his unique insight to help shape what comes next for the conference. His resignation was effective as of Monday, and his new position starts on May 1st. Finishing off between us and our neighbor, Northern Michigan hockey has been chosen to play in the 2026 Quick Trip Holiday Face-Off against UMass, Arizona State, and Wisconsin. The Quick Trip Holiday Face-Off is a highly anticipated event on college hockey calendars as it attracts the top programs with an opportunity to win a championship in a state that loves hockey. The semifinal play takes place on December 29th in Milwaukee, with a championship game as well as the third-place game happening on December 30th, also in Milwaukee. Current matchups and times are not available, but will be shared at a later date. That's all I have for sports. Now back over to the desk.
Thanks for that sports update, Elijah. I'm glad to see that our Northern Michigan Wildcats are looking for something else to do. But I heard you have another story for us.
I do. At the UP North Lodge Event Center in Gwinn, Emily Teague of the MSU Extensive Snap Ed will be cooking. She will be preparing a spring dish with ingredients grown in the Gwinn Food System greenhouse. This event takes place on Wednesday, April 15th at 6 p.m. Participants will be given samples. Food from the UP Lodge will also be available to purchase.
Well, that seems to be all the time we have for Public Eye News today. I'm Summer Starrett.
I'm Ashlyn Shadig.
We'll see you tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.